it's important once you progress through the game to do things in a specific order, and that is to do the agents, then the military forces, then the settlements, and then the replacement and reinforcements. So the reason for this, especially when you've got 80 agents like I do here, is that your agents often reveal things or make things possible that your armies couldn't do without them doing it first. So if we move
Without
this
a trace, I will hide
spy,
until morning.
he reveals that there's a fortress we didn't know about before. Also, if you do something like where is he? Oh yeah.
Ready to trade.
Yeah. If you do something, if you're short of money, you can. Some of your agents will give you money immediately. The diplomat and the the merchant, specifically. So if you take over another merchant's
Looking
business,
to take someone's trade, my lord?
you get 500 florins immediately. You don't have to wait for it till next turn.
Give me a name, and I'll give you his coin.
So,
Closing their trade permanently.
and of course, that also helps him with giving him extra capabilities, and he'll be more likely to be able to succeed next time. Another reason why another instance of where it's important to move your agents first is where you move a spy into a city, and this gives you a good chance that when you move the army into that city, you will be able to assault it that turn.
An honor to serve. Yes. We will engage them honorably, my lord. Without question, we shall begin the siege.
So you can see you can attack straight away, and therefore save a lot of time and trouble. I'm going to automatically resolve this battle. Normally I wouldn't do that. Normally it's always best to not do the automatically resolve sieges, because if you do, you're probably going to lose a lot more troops than you would otherwise. Also, everybody in the stack, that is all units in the stack, will quite often be lost.
A most honorable victory, my noble lord.
Whereas
Our courage has prevailed. These lands are yours, my lord.
if you do it automatically, then only the ones that you actually fight with will suffer damages, and that's important with things like artillery, to keep the artillery intact. Crusades are one of the most important parts of medieval Total War 2, and you're going to love them and hate them. You're going to love them because you don't spend any money, and you're going to hate them because you're going to hate them because of desertions. So what everybody wants to know is how to avoid desertions. It depends on how long your crusade is. In this case, my crusade is to Timbuktu. And it's taken me more than 10 turns. But if your crusade is shorter than that, up to 10 turns, then you can, after you finish moving your
An
general,
honor to serve. Your orders, noble one.
you can abandon the crusade and then you can join the crusade again afterwards. That resets the counter, because what you've got to do is you've got to move at full speed towards the target of the crusade for at least 2 turns at a time. And during those 2 turns you must have done at least 50% of your move towards the target. But I've also read that in fact it's only the final part of your move that has to be towards the target. The rest may not matter. And another thing that's interesting about it is the desertion is worse depending on what the leader does. So over here I've got a guy.
Noble lord.
If I take
Your
him
orders,
and
noble
the
one.
cavalry out,
Command me, Your Majesty. Command me.
like so,
As you wish. Forming 2 armies. We shall continue at first light.
this is going to cause the troops he left behind to say we're going to desert, but none of them are actually going to desert. The guy and himself,
Noble lord.
I'm only going to lose 1 unit. If I left them all together, I think I'll lose 2 or 3 units, because of the speed he's moving and the direction he's going. Also, another interesting thing that happened was I laid siege to Cordoba. I don't know if this is because Cordoba is a target of a possible target of another crusade, but what I did here was, after I took Cordoba, I moved the crusade commander out of Cordoba, so there's no crusade leader in there. Now normally if you separate the crusade leader from his crusaders, that causes them all to say, hey, we're leaving the crusade. But let's have a look and see what happens. Instead, what happened was they just left the crusade, and there was no penalty. It was fantastic. So it may be that if you can get some troops that garrison the city and don't leave the commander in there, that they can then stay behind and leave the crusade without any penalty. It won't. If we look back over here now, we can see what happens in the open. Oh, I didn't do that with this
An
lot.
honor to serve.
See, in the open, these are the troops that I left by themselves. They've all exited the crusade and have to be put back with a commander to save themselves. But the other guys, they only lost 1 light cavalryman. Now the reason I've done this is because this turn I expect to be able to finish the crusade. Another key thing to do when you're about to finish the crusade, if you've got 10 turns or less before your crusade and your leader can join and can still join the crusade, then every leader you've got and every unit you've got should be in the crusade when you finish it, because every leader and every unit will get a benefit. So the units will all get an experience bonus, chevron, and the leaders will all get the Crusader attribute, so they'll get an upgrade to this, to their
Yes, Lord.
to their chivalry. Now, one thing about that though is if you have been using the move anywhere exploit, that is attaching and detaching your leader from the crusade, leaders who attach and detach from the crusade like that don't get the post-crusade benefits. They don't get so you can still move. It does mean you can move the units in any direction, but and you have to remember, by the way, to do it at the end of your move. You may find that they don't get the chivalry benefits. So that there are, of course, a lot of other benefits from finishing a crusade. So
God will be with us,
let's
men.
go and do that now.
To battle!
Again, I wouldn't normally do it this way. Just to speed things up, I'm going to do an auto resolve.
God has granted his faithful this victory. God be praised for blessing us with victory.
Now I'm going to occupy this element because that's going to give me more chivalry again. So number one, you'll get improved relationship with the Pope, which means you can then go and attack a Catholic country afterwards. You may get a lot of money, and you'll see here it says 211 units get experience bonus because I had so many units in Crusade. And you get special items. Now we look at this guy who is actually in the, he's got a Hospitaller Knight, which gives us +1 chivalry, +1 card against a Templar Knight. But there are also things such as there are icons such as the True Cross and other things like that that you could get. And a commander with a huge amount of chivalry like this is extremely beneficial because it means that your towns will grow like magic, and they won't rebel. It's absolutely fantastic. And if you look at all these units that were in the Crusade, you'll see now they've all got one extra. They had no chevrons before, and now they've all got a chevron. Because one chevron isn't very beneficial. You actually need to get two before it makes a difference overall. But you've got to start somewhere. And of course, if you've already got chevrons, then you'll get a lot more. Yeah, because when you start, like I had all of these guys in the Crusade, and now their movement is half what it was before, so we can't go and attack the Mongols. So you've got to think carefully about when you're going to actually finish the Crusade. Of course, the big benefit of not having any and not having to pay for all of his armies is quite extraordinary. I mean, if I look at my because I'm still going to be in money next term, but you can see it's still going to be hugely costly to pay for all these armies that I didn't have to pay for before. Yeah. Another benefit from Crusades is your leader, if he keeps moving at maximum speed, will get the ego trait, which is very helpful too, because that's a 10% movement bonus. You want him to get the, if he's the one that actually takes the city, he gets that, and it gives him a huge amount of chivalry, and then command points. very useful for fighting the Mongols, because the Mongols have a large amount of dread, which is cancelled out by the chivalry of your commander. When you come to the managing settlements part of your turn, one of the first things you should do is look down the list of settlements for a picture of the Duke and the sign that he's currently constructing a building. You then go to look in the town, and if you see something like this, construction is going to start. Construction is going to finish next turn. You've then got one more turn of construction going. You should put the tax rate to very high. And why do you do that? The reason is that you want your commander to become a budding bureaucrat, or to have farming knowledge, or to be basically a good taxer, a good taxman. That's how you get the good tax trait for your commanders, by having the commander on very high tax rate when a building is built. For some buildings, like the church, it can work the opposite way. In that case, if you want to have high chivalry, you can put him on low tax rate, and then when the building is built, like the church, that will give you fair in rule or some chivalry trait. But you've got to be careful, because if you don't, if you put them on normal or something in between the two extremes, you could then become a poor tax person, and then you'll start, and then you instead of getting plus 10%, you'll get minus 10%. See, there's the good with taxes is what you want to get. Also with taxes, another thing you want to do is you want growth, and growth is much more important than having higher taxes. So if you've still got a town, the important thing with the town is to make that town grow as fast as possible. So you leave the town on a low tax rate. That will make the population grow as fast as possible, and you hopefully get population booms all the time, and that will lead the town to grow into a city much faster, and that's what in the end is going to increase your taxes in the long run. So while they're still towns, put them on low tax rates if that's at all possible. When they become cities, though, you have a problem with look at their population. So that's when, for the city, you have a problem with squalor in cities. So that, and increasing the population without doing something about the squalor just increases squalor, which makes it harder to control the city. So when you've got a city, I tend not to actually buy things like farms, because farms produce, although they're good for income, they produce more population. And also with cities, I keep them on normal or higher tax rates to try and reduce the population growth. Of course, that all depends on what sort of leader you've got in the cities. If a good enough leader can compensate for all those sorts of problems. And if you build buildings like the town hall, then that also reduces squalor. Now, and by the way, it's important to build town halls because your cities your towns will not grow into cities and then into huge cities and so forth if you don't build town halls. Even if they've got the population required, they won't grow until you've built the town hall. Or the council chambers, or the mayor's palace, or whatever it is that they require. You also, that will help you when the plague comes, because they give a help bonus. Then you've got to go into building the bigger and bigger churches, because they also give health bonuses and help counter squalor and as well as, it's not just the religion bonus. Now, the last thing you want to do in your turn is recruiting. And the reason you do that is to avoid the bug that's associated with rebuilding units. So if you, or upgrading units, if you attempt to upgrade a unit and then you save the game and then you reload it, you'll lose, you'll pay the money, but you won't actually get the upgrade. But another important thing to realise is how recruiting is related to taxation. So the more, of course, the more men you have in the city, the better behaved it becomes. And of course, if they are garrison units, then you don't pay anything for their upkeep. Depending on the size of the city, depends on how many you can put there. Now, in this city, for instance, he's on 80%. He's just about to build a road. Now that probably will improve his public order rating a bit, but not very much. Now, say he was not at all happy. What you can do is build a unit, or several units, and they will be built before the rebellion check is done. So if you build them now, they'll appear next turn and they will stop the city from rebelling. The public order will increase. So although it might say, you know, it's really bad at the moment, next turn it will be much better because you built the units at the right time. Okay, that's all my tips for the moment. Thanks for watching.